cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
Cause I'm the type of nigga that's built to last. If you fuck with me, I put my foot in your ass. See, I don't give a fuck cause I keep belling. Yo, what the fuck are they yelling?
Don't push me cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
Coming to you from the Edge Podcast Studios at South Mountain, Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the Edge Podcast with Mike G. Welcome to the Edge Podcast. My name is Mike G. You are live in studio right now. Of course, we're taping this. I always say taping this. We're recording this live at the Edge Podcast Studios at South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome. And we're going to just move at a clip. I have two guests in studio today. The first is Ryan Corry. He's from St. Vincent de Paul. Ryan is an activist and just on the forefront of helping people who otherwise don't get that help. And we're talking about the homeless and the very poor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And we also have in studio Brian Bogert from Bogert's Bullets. Go to www.brianbogert.com and you're going to find all kinds of great media, social media, blogs, etc. And both of these guys are just powerhouse rock stars as far as I'm concerned because of what they do, not only because of what they do, but the difference they make in the world today, especially here in Phoenix, Arizona. You guys are on the cutting edge, man. You really are. So let me just toss it over to you, Ryan. Tell us a little bit about your story and tell us about St. Vincent de Paul and the ministry that you guys are. Because when I first thought of what, you asked me, what do you think is, well, Brian asked me, what do you think about St. Vincent de Paul? I thought, well, it's a place where you can go and get food. It's a food, or you can, if you're homeless, you can go and eat in one of your centers or one of your cafeterias, and I know that, right? I was way under, I had no idea what you guys were up to. So take it from there.
Yeah. So St. Vincent de Paul in Phoenix here, our mission is to feed, clothe, house, and heal the homeless and working poor. So what that means is we have a budget of $34 million every year that all we do is make sure that the underserved have a place to come. That when they walk in our door, it could be one of our 5 dining rooms throughout the valley. It could be one of our 18 thrift stores in central or northern Arizona. It could be our main campus on 7th Avenue in Watkins. We make sure there's a human to ask them 2 questions. How are you and how can we help? And I think those are 2 of the most important things that we can say to someone, because it opens us up, right? Yeah. It says, whatever you need, we're going to listen and we're going to do what we can to help you. And a lot of the people that come to us, they're so used to calling a phone tree and press 1, press 2, press 1, press 2, right? Or filling out forms to get help. And we say, we're not going to do that. We're going to put a person in front of you. We're going to treat you like a human. It doesn't matter what you have going on. There's humanity and there's dignity, and those are the 2 most important things that we give. The help is all secondary.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you give them a voice the moment they walk in. Like, those 2 questions make such a difference, because they're walking into someone who's got concern on their face. They're like, how are you and how can I help? Yeah, right. And so we coined the hashtag 2 questions. Based off of that, because I love that, man. That is so real, and people are getting help too. So let's talk about how many people you actually get to help on a daily basis as an opportunity, because it really is a huge opportunity.
Yeah, so one of the most impressive numbers, I think, is that 4,200 people who live in Phoenix get to join us at our tables for a hot, nutritious meal every day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. You can find a meal somewhere at St. Vincent de Paul. I think, something else that we do that people don't realize, and they don't realize the impact, is our medical and dental clinic. So when a child comes in and is looking down at the ground and our dental director says, "What's wrong? Like, what's going on?" Most of the time that child doesn't want to look you in the eye, doesn't want to open his mouth, doesn't want to speak, because there's such low self-confidence in the dental challenges that we see. it's embarrassing for that 7-year-old. 7-year-olds are much more self-aware than we would think, right? And if we can bring that person in, give that 7-year-old a voice in our dental clinic, and help him fix his challenges, self-confidence goes way up. That same kid, a year later after he gets help, is raising his hand in class, is succeeding in school, is able to eat. I mean, imagine that, right? And so whether it's the dining room, the medical and dental clinic, we make sure that people leave in a better, more human and dignified spot than when they came in.
That's so
and
right.
it's that self-confidence, man. You know, we were kind of talking about it now, you know, mood and energy and all of that. If you have great self-confidence, and if you have the people around you with good energy, you can make anything happen.
Yeah.
So we try and provide that good environment and that good energy, and ask them, what are we going to make happen together?
You're empowering people from the second they walk in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something they're not used to, right?
Yeah, and I think that's really important too, because you know, we had kind of an outlook, I'd say recently, as an organization, that people were going to come to us and we were going to help them best we could, right?
Right.
We started a new advisory board called the Vinnies. And
This is sexy, man.
Yeah.
I love this.
and Brian's one of the founding members and jumped on board. And I don't know what to call it, but there's a different attitude now, right? I mean, I just think there is. Like, there's an attitude that there are tons of people who need our help in Phoenix, right in our backyards, in our neighbors, and we're gonna do it. Like, we're not gonna wait for them to come to us, right? We're not gonna do it in traditional, you know, ways that we're gonna put some slop on a plate. No. One of my first days at work, we had chicken marsala.
Wow,
right? That's what we
man.
served our guests, and it's an attitude change. It's bringing in people like Brian, business leaders who say, we run our business to be the best in the world, and we're going to run St. Vincent de Paul the same way.
See, that is so powerful, man. And here's something that, and by the way, cut over to Brian because I want to talk to him for a minute. One of the things that I love about Brian is his passion for let's get things done, and he has an if and how, right, philosophy where he asks the question, if he can help you, and then how can I help you? And he's got this 2 questions that I've adopted, by the way. I now have #4 questions. But one of the things that I love about Brian is that he really does, he gets involved and he takes action. And I think of, you know, it makes a difference when you've got a group of people around you who are committed to that. When you make it, when you're like, look, okay, we see the problem, it's obvious. What can we do now? But here's what I love about the Vinnies, right? You guys have taken it to the next level, man. I mean, what you're up to, you've got food that you're growing. I mean, hydroponic ponds and others. I want you to talk about all of this because it's so important that people understand that St. Vincent de Paul is not drawing off of the public. Like, you guys are self-sufficient in a lot of ways, and you're able to feed people healthy, you know, well-balanced meals that is outside of, you know, the previous, you know, food triangle, right? This is what we're, and you guys are following a much better diet with that, and you guys are bringing in people in the community that are actually giving those people dignity to sit down and have a meal by, you know, really nice corporations, and I love the fact that they're coming in and that you guys are drawing that. So talk about that, Brian. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, first, I'm just going to comment on Ryan because you know, he's a humble guy.
He's a stud muffin, man.
He's a stud, and I do believe this. I tell this to people all the time. I think he's one of the top.
He's a visionary.
He's one of the top development people in the nonprofit world in Phoenix. I mean, it's a fact. And I do a lot with a number of organizations. You said it best. He's a visionary. He thinks forward, and he'll never say that, right? He's the first one to give credit to somebody else. So Ryan has done a very impressive job of putting people around the table that believe as much in him as they do in the mission of St. Vincent de Paul. And so he's in a position to sit at that table and coordinate the efforts of 30 rock star professionals in our community. I'm honored and humbled to be even at the table because there's some real players here, right? And so the Vinnies is set up to work on a number of different initiatives. And the impact, the collective impact that's taking place right now as a result of the Vinnies is significant. So I'm going to let Ryan talk about the Urban Farm Initiative, and then dovetail that with the Restaurant Takeover Initiative.
Yes.
Because these are two efforts that are really coming to fruition as a result of the group. And then what I don't want to forget about, and let's make sure we hit upon it, is what this is leading into with this giant capital campaign that we're about to enter into.
So big.
And there's some really cool things that are going to impact hundreds of thousands of lives in our community as a result of the work that this guy and his team at St. Vincent and the team of people in the Vinnies are putting together.
Yes.
Yeah, so with our Urban Farm Initiative, it's something, you know, I was out there today. I was walking around, and our head farmer, Tony Kasowski.
Shout out to Tony.
Shout out to Tony. Yeah, you can find him at Tony Grows Food on Instagram.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and he's got some good stuff out there, and a lot of pictures of the St. Vincent de Paul Urban Farm, actually. And we've partnered with him, and we really ask him, what do you need? You know, what's your vision? And Tony is so passionate about the food that's happening there that we're a zero waste facility. Like, anything that would traditionally be dumped goes into a compost pile now, where you stick a thermometer in that compost pile, it's reading like it smells, but it's reading, it's reading like 150 degrees.
Right.
And what that does after it cooks for about 30 days is we use that as our soil.
Yeah.
And it's so nutrient rich that it just produces awesome food. So we're walking around out there, and he says, hey, here's some celery. And so I eat this celery, and I don't want to buy celery from the grocery store anymore.
Wow.
Right? Because I now know how it's supposed to taste when you grow it the right way, without pesticides, without chemicals. And I just took a little bit, but you know where that celery's going? That's going in our family dining room every night. And that's providing our families with a salad bar where, they're not having sugary, cheap food. They're getting kale that we're growing in our urban farm, and sweet potatoes.
50,000 pounds of food annually that the farm is producing right now. 50,000 pounds of food annually.
And it's all it's locally diverse. So in other words, meaning that it's what normally grows here in Arizona. It's not something that you're trying to grow, something that's growing in Colorado or whatever, and trying to get it to grow. We're growing what normally, like squash and things like that.
You hit on it. So, instead of trying to do, I don't know, butternut squash, we're doing acorn squash. It's a native plant. So it grows much better and produces much more nutrient-rich food. And so what's really exciting about that is 50,000 pounds is just the tip, right?
Yeah.
We think on that plot of land, we could do 250,000 pounds. Wow. And then when we get this right, we have other land around the valley that will do 250 or more at every spot that we have in the valley.
So for those of us that don't necessarily know how to do the math and conversion on that, how many mouths does 50,000 pounds serve every year?
Yeah, so good question, and I won't get into the math because that's tricky for me too. But I'm an English major, you know that. You set me up for failure. But basically,
I got a calculator, man.
Here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get that farm to 250,000 pounds of food. Yeah. And we think 250 could offset somewhere between 20 and 25% of the produce that we need. And then we'll replicate that. And when we get to 1 million pounds of food, we're going to be really close to 90% of all the produce that our families will need. And that's not only in our dining room, but that is going to be sent home in food boxes, right? So we're excited because it's not just going to be a farm. I mean, that's a showcase. Yeah. So that we can bring families out and say, here's a 4x8 planter box. Here's how you do it, right? And
that's cool. That's so cool.
And it's important because you could.
That's a new initiative, man. That's a whole new thing.
You could
teach a man to fish.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
Yes.
very biblical, right? I mean,
Right.
you can either give him fish or teach him how to fish, and
Right.
and we want to educate as much as we want to, put band-aids on a problem. I mean, it's maybe more so. We want to educate for sustainability.
Right.
Well, it's back to the idea of empowerment, right?
Absolutely.
You're empowering these individuals from the second they walk in the door. You're empowering these individuals to feel confidence and get healthy and eat well. And you're empowering these individuals to be educated, to go prepare themselves for jobs and have the dignity and respect to have the right clothing. It's empowering them to pay their bills so that they can have respect at the dinner table with their people. It's empowering them by teaching them how to grow this food so they can sustain themselves in the lifestyle. I mean, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
All of the things that you guys are touching, and it's literally, you're impacting these people's lives not only in the moment that they're in, but in future generations, right?
Oh,
isn't the chef?
Yeah, I was
at
just
St.
going to say
Vincent?
that.
I mean, can you tell that story?
Yeah. So our chef is actually, he was a kind of a culinary genius over at a few restaurants at Lone Butte Casino, and they don't hire just anyone. I mean, they have they have a few nice restaurants over there, and so he actually came to St. Vincent de Paul, and at first we were kind of like, wow, what a steal. Like what happened? What happened at Lone Butte? Kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I was in the kitchen with him one night, and he said to me, his name's Chef Chris Hoffman, and he said, when I was going through a really bad time, St. Vincent de Paul helped me. And they helped him with some payments, and I think they had a car they could donate to him at that time, and so he's there because he was helped by St. Vincent de Paul. And now every single day, I mean, this is the effect that it has, right? We helped one guy, and every single day he feeds 4,200 people now. Like, that's a serious multiple.
Yes.
You gave him the strength.
Yeah.
You gave him the resources he needed in a time that he needed it at most.
Yeah.
Right? And now he's in a position where he can give that back.
That's success right there.
You talk about a no-waste system with the farm, right?
Right.
He's the definition of a no-waste system.
Oh,
I mean, literally.
Yeah.
He's come full circle to the fact that he's now giving and impacting other lives. That's powerful, but that's the experience that you give people.
Yeah, and I think that there's probably no better spot that's displayed than in our family dining room. And it's because people show up at the door every day, 4 p.m., sometimes earlier. And the only qualification of being in the family dining room is you got to show up with kids, your kids, someone else's kids, whatever. But we wanted to create a really safe environment for our kids. And we are able to invite them in to the dining room, and we have a host or hostess, and that person leads the family to a table. And then at that table, every single family member is given a menu, right? And we don't just have them go through a line and slop food down. They get a choice. Every night, every member of the family gets a choice of what they want to eat. And dignity, empowerment. I mean, it's all right there.
Is this a menu driven? Like, so it's a menu that they look through, or is it?
It's like a half sheet of paper.
Okay.
And every night they get a choice between 2 or 3 entrees, a couple different sides. There's some dessert. They go through the salad bar to begin the meal.
Right.
Every night.
Wow,
and
It's like an experience of going and sitting down at a restaurant.
Yeah, you're just walking into a restaurant. I mean, it's the same
and that's
experience.
Key. That's really key, because it gives adults respite from their challenges, and it gives the children, the children never realize
the perception that they aren't at a place for the working poor.
Oh, right. That's cool.
They just think they're going to a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
That's it. We're just going to that restaurant on 7th Avenue and Watkins again. I mean, it's, they must think that, and we change the menu every night. I don't know what they think. These people are nuts. But, what we do at that table after the kids order, they're bolting, because we have what's called the Dream Center.
I love this.
And they can go get tutoring and homework help.
Oh my gosh.
And we really focus on math and literacy. And, the second part to tutoring and homework is, it's called the Dream Center for a reason. We bring in volunteers, guest speakers, corporations to help the kids dream outside of what their world is today. You know, a great example of that, and a great example of our dining room and the work of our Vinnies, is we have an initiative called the Restaurant Takeover. And our Vinnies have gone out and built partnerships with restaurateurs, and they say, look, this is what St. Vincent de Paul's all about. They do great food. You do great food. You care about the community. They have the community every night, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so Sam Fox and Fox Restaurant Concepts, they were the first company to look and say, you're right. There is no difference in these people except ability to pay.
That's it.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's I mean, you can just line them up and there's no difference in the human, right?
Yeah.
And this is, Brian talks about, you know, he's like, I don't know why I'm sitting there. I'm just honored to be sitting there. Brian closed that. Right?
Did you know?
Yeah. He
That's,
was he got
You're one of the other humblest guys in the room.
Saint,
I had to take it fucking. I don't like. Nope. Give me the credit for that one.
St. Vincent closed itself.
Yeah.
I mean, we sat down at the table with the people in their marketing and PR department, and I mean, we had barely uttered out what the concept was, and they were like, "How do we do this?"
Yeah, we're in.
So there was no closing, right?
Yeah,
it was those individuals that are in the dining hall.
Yeah.
They closed the deal.
Well, anybody would.
And Fox demonstrated their commitment to community because they looked at that and said, "This is an opportunity for us to give a Henry-style experience to those people in the family dining center.
Right.
This is an opportunity to give them the quality of food that we would deliver to our patrons every single night." And it was miraculous, frankly.
Yeah.
We sat down at the table not understanding what direction it would go, and it delivered so much more than I think any of our expectations.
What was the experience? I really want to get this. What was the
Yeah.
experience when you walked in? Because they took over your kitchen, they took over your entire cafeteria, and they went for it. So what did Fox do? What was the experience?
So you know, you would think that an organization like Fox, who does food so well every night, could do this in their sleep, and they'd make some nice meals and kind of mail it in, right? You know, because it's community service. We're volunteers.
Sure.
I don't know how many tours of our kitchen that we set up with them prior to that date, maybe 5 or 6. They brought their head chef, you know, their VP of culinary,
Wow.
Clint Woods. And they got 60 volunteers from different concepts that they have in their corporate offices. They set up a hostess stand. Every family that walked in was greeted just like you would be when you walked into the Henry or Culinary Dropout or Olive and Ivy, right?
Right.
They were led to a table that had white linens and fresh flowers on it. They folded the napkins and set out the silverware just like at the restaurant.
Wow.
And in that fold of the napkin was a menu. And on the menu were dishes right off the Henry's menu.
Wow, man.
I mean, you got to choose between salads and, I mean, just listen to the entrees. Braised short rib, Atlantic salmon, or a half chicken, right? And not a single one of our guests knew what was going to happen that night. They just, I mean, we had a mother in tears because she said, I've never been able to afford good protein for my kids. This is the first time my kids have ever tasted salmon.
Wow.
Right. And we had one of the coolest parts of the night. You know, I talked about our Dream Center. Fox brought in their culinary chefs or their pastry chefs, right?
Oh, right.
And they set up a cupcake decorating station in our Dream Center.
Wow.
And the central idea behind that is especially for the kids who were into art, right?
Yeah.
Say, you know what you can do? You can be a pastry chef. Like I get paid to do stuff like this, right? All this weird stuff you're putting on a cupcake, I get paid for that. And the kids just looked at him like, you're kidding. What a dream job,
That's
right?
amazing.
And so one of the coolest experiences for me, Fox, their COO, their entire leadership team, but their COO especially, a guy named Dan Clay, he's the man, and he was there that night volunteering. Him and his wife were there, and he came up to our executive director, Steve Zabilski, and I, after visiting the cupcake station, and he had tears in his eyes. And he came up and he said, I was just over there with one of our pastry chefs. And she asked a little boy, probably 7 or 8 years old, how do you like to decorate your cupcake? What do you want to put on it? And he looked up at her and he said, I've never decorated a cupcake, right? And I think there's so many experiences, whether you're in food or in service or not, whether you're just an English major like me, you take so many things for granted that the folks who come into our dining rooms have never even thought of, right? Like not never even done, but never even thought of. They don't know it's possible. And you put someone like Fox in there, everything's possible.
Yeah.
Suddenly the world opens up to that kid who just likes to draw, right? And you know, is probably planning on maybe hopefully getting through high school and then who knows what, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly the world is open because there's a job that you can point to and say, I want to be that.
Yeah.
And you know, on October 14th, we're thrilled. Wildflower Bread Company's coming in. We actually just looked at the menu for the first time together. They're doing surf and turf. Like Wildflower Bread Company's doing surf and turf for our folks. And our clients, our guests, they don't even know that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
They're just going to show up for a regular night. And
there it is.
And here it is.
That's awesome. Listen, man, everything you're doing is it's cutting edge. I mean, it really is. I'm so excited about this because I can see how, and by the way, as I understand it, you guys you're the shit when it comes to St. Vincent de Paul chapters in a state, right? Like you're it. And if we were to talk about all the other ones, because you're an international company, like the international, right, St. Vincent.
Right.
Tell the story. I love this. Like, how did St. Vincent de Paul become a thing? When did it, like, you've got a rich history. So tell that story.
Yeah. So in the mid 1800s, this guy named Frederick Ozanam was in college in Paris. 21-year-old guy. Had a group of kind of like fraternity bros, right, that he kind of hung around with. And
the 1800s version.
Yeah, the 1800 bro. Like, what do you think they even wore? Like tanks? Did they wear tank tops?
They had dresses,
neon
man. They were wearing togas. I don't know.
It was, I don't know.
Cowboy boots.
Yeah, something. But so whatever Frederick Ozanam was wearing, he got into a debate with one of the academics.
Yeah.
And this guy said, you know, you Catholics, you talk about the poor and service and all of these great things, but what do you do? What do you actually do? Or do you just talk? And he kind of left and thought about it and pulled together some of his buddies. And from that day on, they started serving the poor of Paris in the streets. They would do direct service and bring them food. Wow. Right? And that history, almost 200 years later, is still with St. Vincent de Paul. One of the core parts of our mission is that our 85 food pantries throughout the valley, they have volunteers, every single one of them. And when someone in their boundaries, we have a nice little map divided in 85 parts. It's like a nightmare. That when someone in their boundaries calls us for help, we connect them with the food pantry. And 2 by 2, those volunteers show up at the front door of the family who needs help and delivers them a food box that'll hopefully get them through the next couple weeks. But it doesn't even stop there. When they get invited into that person's home, 2 things happen. Number 1, it allows for our volunteers to do kind of an assessment, right? Do you have kids sleeping on the floor? Probably, right? Do you have nowhere to sit in a living room? Maybe.
Yeah.
Have your utilities been turned off for the last month and you don't know how you're going to refrigerate the milk? Possibly.
Yeah.
Those are just some of the normal things, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't even get into some of the real problems. And so it allows our volunteers to assess and to help further. The second thing it does is actually for that family. How many times do you think that family gets the dignity of being able to invite someone in and play host?
Wow.
Right, you do this all the time with the Edge, right?
Every day.
Yeah, this is the second time I've been here. The third, right? You invite people in, and it's if it's not already, it should be a huge point of pride, right? That you're inviting people into your world.
It feels great.
Absolutely.
It really does, because it's like I've set this up,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's a huge area of pride and dignity for myself.
Right.
Yeah, totally. I get it.
And
yeah.
so these families, a lot of times they don't get to feel the same way.
Mm.
They don't get to feel the same way of someone coming to their door and just building community and being in conversation, you know, kind of like we're doing now. They don't get that. And so those two things that our food box delivery allows for are so important. You know,
Yeah.
St. Vincent de Paul, from the time of Frederick Ozanam to today, has always had a dual purpose. It serves the needs of the most vulnerable in the community, and it allows for anyone, Brian, me, the richest CEO in the state. It allows an arena for us to come and be of service.
Yeah.
Right. So to serve and to be of service. And so it's really, really important, that history that we've had for almost 200 years. And the name, you know, it actually comes because Frederick Ozanam kind of picked a patron, and you know, we're talking, what do they wear in the 1800s? But back in the 1300s-ish,
Right.
A guy named Vincent de Paul was walking around serving the poor. That's kind of like a very baseline, almost crass version of what he did, right? But
Yeah.
when he became a saint, I mean, it was just a natural connection. Like, man, this guy did it. Like, he was the OG of serving the poor. Like, really. I mean, he was.
That's awesome.
And so hashtag that. So
SFDP, hashtag SFDP OG.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, you know, like what I'm picking up on, though, that I hadn't really thought about here, but St. Vincent de Paul kind of defines the Deuce A Ratio. It started with the concept of, great, you're talking, what are you doing? Right?
Right, yeah.
And 200 years later, you're still doing. And like the part that just blows me away, Mike, is that Ryan, right, and Steve Zabilski and a number of other people that I've met at St. Vincent de Paul are as much of the Deuce A Ratio
Oh yeah.
as the whole concept of St. Vincent de Paul is. So I'll give you one story, but like, this is the beautiful part about it, right? How are you and how can I help, right? Hashtag 2 questions.
Yes.
Right. So we're talking about Fox Restaurants. We're sitting at Fox Restaurants, 44th and Camelback, right? Not an
Biltmore,
area that
yep.
people necessarily look at as people are necessarily in need, right?
Right.
We're sitting outside the Henry, the very first time sitting with Fox Restaurants to brainstorm how they can bring this wonderful concept we just talked about to reality. And a guy walks up asking if we have any spare change.
Wow.
Right? A guy is walking up while we're sitting on the patio at 44th and Camelback, and Ryan immediately stopped our conversation, and he looked at him and he said, "Hi, sir, how are you? How can I help you? What do you need? Right? Do you need food? Do you need coffee? You know, what you're down on your luck? What do you need?" And literally, when he's talking about this whole thing, right? So it started back with Vincent de Paul, St. Vincent de Paul, and back in Paris 200 years ago, where this started with
Frederick Ozanam.
Frederick Ozanam. Yeah, I know the last name, but I always mess up the first name. Deuce A Ratio was back then, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's talking the talk. He's talking about what St. Vincent de Paul does. This guy lives it.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, I want to sidebar for just 1 second,
do it.
because I think it's really, really powerful. And I hate to put you on the spot when I say this, Ryan, but can you talk about your story? Can you talk about why you are so good at just delivering just pure actions out into the community to impact the lives of others? Because I think it's a powerful story.
Yeah. I think 2 reasons, and the first really has neither have anything to do with me, but the first even farther removed. And on my first day of work at St. Vincent de Paul, Steve Zabilski, our CEO, took me into our dining room at 10th Avenue in Jackson, and we were there at 7 a.m, and it's where we serve the homeless, right? It's very different than the family dining room, right? These are folks, PTSD, chronic homelessness, maybe some addiction problems, a lot of things in there. And there was a guy who was walking through the line to get his food, and he obviously had some addiction stuff going on, and he collapsed
Oh, wow.
Just almost 10, 15 feet away from us. It's my first day at work.
Yeah.
And, you know, I immediately started looking around, and I was trying to find help, right? Where's our security? Where's a paramedic? Where's someone else to deal with this?
Yeah.
Steve Zabilski, who had a suit on, took off his jacket, went over to this guy who's kind of convulsing on the ground, put his jacket down for the man to use as a pillow, turned the guy on his side, and held him there until someone could come and help.
Wow.
Right? And if your CEO does that, you better figure out a way to bring yourself to do it too, quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's modeled from the top. And our CEO and our chief philanthropy officer and our chief operating officer, every one of them would do it.
You just gave me chills, because that is what it's about, right?
Yeah,
and I said it before. Steve is like you, but that's unbelievable.
Steve's a far better man than I am, and quite frankly, you know, there were a lot of things that sold me on coming to be a part of the team at St. Vincent de Paul. But you know, and I think he hates it when I say it, but Steve Zabilski was a big one. Like you have to be able to work for and with someone who you respect, and that man is 100% integrity and compassion, 100%.
Wow.
And so that's a big one for me. That's how I'm able to kind of do this type of work with so much conviction, because every single day I have to ask myself, man, yesterday was hard. Like, I saw a lot of stuff. Can I go back and do it again today? Like, every day. And it boils down to, are those humans worth it? And if you say no, you know, you might have your reasons, and that's okay, but you're probably not the right person for St. Vincent de Paul. Right?
Yeah.
But if you can say yes every single day, that those people are worth the dignity that we're conferring on them, I mean, it's, you show up and you do it every day. And so I think the genesis of your question had nothing to do with that, though. And,
no, but I'm so happy.
But then there's a second event that took place you mentioned, and I want to hear that one.
Yeah. So, one of my best friends, we met when we were 14 years old. His name's Scott, and we met because we were both trying out for the golf team at our high school. So we play a lot of golf, and so, you know, he had a room in my house. He was like a brother, you know. My mom fed him, and, you know, all that stuff, right?
Right.
It's like what high school guys do. And when we were 20 years old, I was in college in Southern California, and he was attending ASU at the time. And basically on a Friday night, he called me and said, I got to check myself into the hospital. And I said, why? And he said, well, I went in for what I thought was tennis elbow, and they want to do more tests, and I don't know what it means, but it's pretty scary and whatever, you know, right?
Yeah.
So of course I was on the next plane, the first plane out the next morning, and sat there with him for a couple days in the hospital. And, you know, that was the easy part, sitting there with him. He was getting poked and prodded and tested and all this stuff. And on Sunday at 3 p.m., the doctor walks in and says, you have leukemia. And this is a 20-year-old, just healthy, happy dude, right? I mean, we were playing golf together a couple weeks before. And it really hit me, because up until that point, I was just going to go bash someone's brains in every day and be an attorney, right? Like,
that was your path? That
was my path. I mean, I was doing political science and English. I was going to take the LSAT, and I was going to be really, really good. Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
And you would have been.
Yeah.
Been awesome.
I mean, it would have been over, right? And it was the first time in my life that I wasn't smart enough to beat myself out of a problem, right? That I couldn't find a way around it. And I also was not rich enough to pay to help him.
Right.
Didn't have money, didn't have enough smarts. So what am I going to do? So I showed up at a small nonprofit in Southern California, a foundation that helped families who were going through cancer diagnosis. and just volunteered and volunteered a lot for a few years. And to me, it became something where I wasn't smart enough or rich enough to help my best friend, but through that kind of work and service, and now what's turned into fundraising and strategic planning at St. Vincent de Paul, I can help a lot of other people's best friends. Yeah. And you know, it's pretty powerful to think about that. And as Brian says, I don't say that to impress. I say it to impress upon a point, right? Yeah. That every single one of us has gone through something where we're not smart enough to figure it out or rich enough to pay for it to go away, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? And what I tell people to do is show up at St. Vincent de Paul, right? Yeah. You'll still have that thing, but someone else and someone else's best friend will not have their thing, right? And just like Chef Chris Hoffman, one guy feeding 4,200 people a day, every single person, especially our Vinny's board members, has that effect on the community and the people who need it most. And so that's, I mean, I think that's probably what you wanted me to share, and that's kind of...
That's exactly what I wanted to share. Yeah. And when you said it's kind of powerful, no, dude, it's mind-blowing.
It's so,
I mean, you
inspiring.
It really is. And, you know, that goes back to the ability for us all to give, right? And the idea that we should give until it hurts. And that, when I say give, that does not mean money necessarily, although it could be. It does not necessarily mean time, although it could be. And it does not necessarily mean your resources of the people that you know, although it could be. But I think it's all of the three, frankly.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have money, give of your time and your resources.
Yeah.
If you have money, give your money and hopefully your time and your resources, right? But I think if you genuinely go back to giving until it hurts and determining if and how you can help, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you do that every single day of your life. And it's because you realized there was something that was bigger than you, right? You realized that there was something that you couldn't control or fix yourself. So you found resources to be able to impact it. Yeah. That's what giving is about.
Oh, yeah. Well, and let's not sugarcoat it. We're dealing with people, like you said, with PTSD, veterans that are coming back. And some of them maybe lost a limb. You know, and they're all being helped, families, people that just don't have right now the economic wherewithal to do for themselves. And that, you know, it's just any one of us could be in that position and situation today. That's the seriousness of it, right? Right. And some of these people are mentally ill, and they're hard to deal with. But you have people that are literally volunteers, unpaid, that are standing for humanity. That is what Vincent de Paul means to me now. Before, it was just a food bank. Today, I'm absolutely all in. And I want to know, how do I get other people involved? Because it's so vital that we do exactly what you said, Brian, and that is pick one, pick two, pick all three. You know, give of your time, your money, your treasure, your life, whatever it takes. And get out there and help somebody. And especially if you're in a situation right now where things are tough for you, you know what? Go and put a smile on somebody else's face.
That's right.
And you will feel, you don't get paid for it, but you get paid for it.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, and you know, now is a great time of year to decide to be all in with St. Vincent de Paul. I mean, there's no better opportunities than coming up on the holidays, right? We have Turkey Tuesday coming up in November. It's the largest single day Thanksgiving meal drive in the country. In the country. And we'll bring in 20,000 meals so that every single person in Phoenix will have a Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
That's one great way to help. Show up at bashes around the community. They're going to help us do this.
That's awesome.
They're going to help us just knock 20,000 out of the park.
Here's what I want to do, because we got just a few minutes left. Yeah. Can we extend this about 5 minutes? Because there's one thing that we haven't covered that we absolutely must cover, and then I want to wrap up and give you that opportunity. So that one thing, oh man, it just that one thing is that we might have to edit this part out because I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Well, it was something that you had mentioned in the very beginning, and that is the what's coming up, the capital campaign.
Right.
Okay, so note that time where I just got a little bit brain fried, and then note the time down, and we'll edit that out. And 3, 2, 1. So there's something that I want to make sure that we cover before we finish up here, and that is the new effort that's out there right there. And I forget what you call it.
It's a huge capital campaign.
Capital campaign. Talk about that real quick, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up with how people can get involved.
Yeah, so just between you, me, Brian, and the hundreds of thousands of people who are going to watch it, because I mean it is something that we're talking about very quietly to some of our best friends, and here's why. There are some areas that we have identified, not that we feel like, oh, this is nice, we want to do this, but it's a shortfall in the community, right? That St. Vincent de Paul, if no one else is going to do it, we're going to step forward, and we're going to make sure we provide one place where families can come and get back on the path to sustainability, right? Not just come and have a meal, or not just come and go to the doctor. From whatever your challenge is today, could be homelessness, right? Maybe it is just being a little bit behind on your rent, but whatever your challenge is today, how can we get you from there to full-time employment and sustainability, right? And so we are going to build a 37,000 square foot building. We have land on our campus. We can do it.
Wow.
And on that bottom floor, we are going to create a family resources center. And we're not going to do it alone, because there's a lot of things that St. Vincent de Paul's good at, but we may not be the best. And so why are we going to recreate the wheel, right? We're going to invite other nonprofits, and we have a couple who have agreed to have a space in that family resources center.
Wow.
Right? So I'll share one. I'll share one. St. Joseph the Worker. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They are the best at getting people back to work, right? We think that there might be a good partnership where they can come and have a space in our new building so that they can help our guests get back to work. That's really important. You mentioned PTSD and veterans.
Yeah.
Our state has an effort to help veterans, and that effort has been in the news a lot in the past few years, right?
Yeah.
Lack of resources, lack of timeliness, all of those things.
Yeah.
And St. Vincent de Paul is raising our hands, and we're saying, you know what? We can help veterans. We can help disabled elderly.
Yeah.
Two populations that I think are underserved.
I've got to put you in contact with Dee Farrand from Relief for Life. She's a PTSD expert. She's developed a program that can help diminish and erase anxiety. She's got 10 wonderful tools in her toolbox. They're all. She's amazing, and I want to put her in touch with you guys.
Yeah, that would be great, because
absolutely.
When veterans come back and they have PTSD, or they have kind of a loss of identity, or just kind of a momentary crisis, a lot of times the result is homelessness.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have a place currently called Ozanam Manor, and it is for various reasons. It's going to be shut down. The city of Phoenix has been a great partner of ours for a number of years, but they have a city to run, and where Ozanam Manor is currently located is in the redevelopment area, and that redevelopment plan does not currently have a provision for transitional housing.
Right, I got it. Okay.
And so we have an opportunity that in that 37,000 square foot building, I talked about the Family Resources Center on the first floor.
Right.
On the second floor, we're going to rebuild Ozanam Manor, and we're going to expand it.
Wow.
And we're going to add somewhere between 7 and 10 more beds to go up to 56 beds, so that the disabled elderly and our homeless veterans can have a place of transition. That's not shelter, right? That's not temporary. Transition to sustainability. They can stay for 4 to 6 months, even more, and have access to all of the services that St. Vincent de Paul has. And so typically when folks come through Ozanam Manor, within that 4 to 6 month time frame, they have a job and they're living on their own again when they exit our facility.
Wow.
I don't care who you are. No one stacks up to that stat.
Yeah.
I'll put my own money on that one.
Come on.
That we can that
He's
we
ballsy.
You know what? That's because you know what? If someone does it better,
Yeah.
we have a lot of people for him to help.
That's
and that's
right.
the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'll lose money for that.
That's why he's one of the best guys in fundraising in the state.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but you know, it's
well, this guy is the expert over here, so he would know.
well,
you just have to accept it.
he's you know, it's so the capital campaign is going to be hugely important to our community, but
looking forward to it.
It's exciting that people like Brian and our other nearly 30 members of the Vinnies, they've all raised their hands as community leaders. And you know, for some people, this isn't even their third job, right? I mean, they got their professional job, they have family commitments, they have other board commitments. I mean, this is a thing. And every single one of them has looked me in the eye and raised their hands and said, we're committed to families. We're committed to helping the disabled elderly. We're committed to helping veterans. And this is going to get done. Because there's no way that you can have a strong community without someone who cares about the underserved.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't have the bottom fall out. And so
they matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like what Fox said, the only thing that's different is the ability to pay. There's nothing different in humanity otherwise.
Wow. How can we get involved? Who do we contact?
Yeah. Number one, go to St. Vincent de Paul, our website, svdpaz.org. We have a great volunteer module. Just sign up for something. Come to family evening meal, grab a shovel, get in the urban farm. Just do something, and then decide what it is you love. Because there's going to be something you love on our campus. There will be.
Yeah.
For me, it's Ryan.
Yeah.
It's bromance.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it is.
It's
absolutely.
Cool,
and
when you guys taking me golfing?
Anytime. Yeah, we can golf. Yeah.
He's a good stick.
Is he?
Yeah. So, you know, the other way, email me. I have my phone all the time, right? It's rcorry@svdpaz.org.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's
direct access, by the way, guys.
That's
I want you to know
direct.
something. We just got you direct access to Ryan Corry.
Yeah, I mean, if
People pay for that.
That's a
email.
big deal, man.
If I get any emails that say don't ever do a podcast again, I won't forward them to you. I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not. I'm just going to keep that to myself and just wait till you publish and be like, oh yeah, I think someone didn't like that.
You've done a fantastic job here today. You really have.
Of course,
and knocked it out of the park. Really, no kidding. And I got to tell you, like I said last time, man, I'm all in. I just need to know what to do. I'm thinking, in my head, you know, how do we do a 24-hour podcast where we run it live on Periscope and we have people involved that can come through here that have been through St. Vincent de Paul. For instance, you know, let's get Steve in here and let's talk to the guys from Fox Restaurant. Let's talk to your chef. Let's talk to Tony, the garden guy, right? I would love to have them come in and raise money for this initiative because it's that important. 100% of all proceeds would go to you. And I don't know how to set that up, but I'm going to look to Brian and to you to help me with maybe coordinating that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love that because a lot of it's on us and actually partners who step up like you, right? And I can't tell you how grateful we are because the most important thing we have to do is tell our story. And you provide an incredible avenue for us to do that. Yep. So thank you. And we will kind of huddle up and figure out how to do something because I'm not sure Steve Zabilski has ever been on a podcast. I think we're going to enter new territory with hashtag Big SC.
I love it. But I do want to say just one thing to the people who are watching right now.
Sure.
Your demonstration of hearing there's a need and being willing to jump in and help, and you genuinely mean it, right? That's pure. That's pure. That's real. That's strong. everybody watching this podcast has the ability to do something similar. And yes, we're here talking about St. Vincent de Paul, but there's no need for you to have to help St. Vincent de Paul. There's somebody in the community, there's some organization, there's somebody's life that you can have a direct impact on. So it's asking the simple questions, right? If and how you can help. It's how are you? How can I help? It's literally understanding what you can give back into the world to change someone else's life. You're doing that right now, Mike,
wow.
and that's powerful. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. That's what the Edge podcast is all about. You know, how do we get into the lives of real people and have that be something that other people can look at and relate to? Because look, you've done an amazing work, and I'm clear, it took something. Like, it really took commitment. It took a team. It's taking all of that, right, to move forward in a way that people are actually being helped. And I just, man, my hat's off to you. Thank you for what you're doing. And I can see that what you've already laid out as really a template could be done worldwide. You know, being able to farm your own food, being able to, right, expand your services, and to generate a 37,000-foot facility that would help, like, really, really help people get back on the path to, you know, sustainability. That's fantastic. Yeah. Why wouldn't I be all in? Do you know what I mean? That's right. The question. Why wouldn't I? I mean, you'd have to be heartless, just a real effing jerk, to not look at that and go, I got to be a part of that. So I do. I have to be a part of that. My son's over here doing engineering, and I know that this guy's heart right now, he's probably brimming, like, how do I get involved as well? Right? That's my son, Nick. So he's our engineer. It's a family operation. Yeah. Anyway, we're at the end of our time, and I'm. It's hard to let go of you guys. I don't want you to leave, but we have to, and we're gonna do this again. Are you in?
We're in.
Okay. In. Next time we're gonna have to have you do some Dr. Dre or Jay-Z.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm multifaceted.
You got mad skills, man. Last time you got some mad skills. I love it. Well, on that, I just want, and by the way, you were pretty good doing the Eminem piece. Not too bad, Brian. So, but again, you know, for Ryan Corry from St. Vincent de Paul, and also for Brian Bogert from Bogert's Bullets, and I don't want to say you're from that. That's just one of his many talents. Like, he's very good at inspiring and coaching, and he is a life coach. Not like you're a
performance coach,
performance
life coach. It's holistic, man. It's all about making people better. So,
well, I don't ever know what to call you, because you really are, like, you encompass so many different things. Yeah. But life coach, and definitely a personal performance coach. BrianBogert.com. Definitely get out to see him there, or at Bogert Brian at any one of the other social media sites. You know, get involved. SVDPAZ.org is the website for St. Vincent de Paul in Arizona. And again, our Corry at svdpaz.org is how you get in touch with Ryan to get involved. Okay. And again, this is Mike G from the Edge Podcast Studios, and we're at South Mountain right now, Phoenix, Arizona. And I guess the only other thing to say is get involved. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching the Edge Podcast with Mike G. I hope you enjoyed the episode that you just watched. Please subscribe, like, and comment.